Hi, and welcome to another episode of Quarto. Today, I have with me Christian Narciso. Narciso.
Yeah, that's how you want to pronounce it. Thank
Let's
you,
say
Vasco.
Narciso in English because
Yeah,
it's easier for the others.
that's fine.
Um, Another coach that I had the pleasure to meet through COVID at first, but then we had the pleasure to talk about a lot of things and grow this relationship. Christian, first of all, thanks for be here to talk about a little bit about your experience as a coach, because you are a very different kind of Italian coach that I known for the others. Not for only for your experience outside of Italy, but also with your mentality and the things that you try to do. So thanks a lot, and I hope that everyone that is listening to this and watching to this can take as much as I've taken from the last years from you.
Thank you so much for having me here, Vasco.
And so, for starters, so because not everyone knows you, a lot of people that are from Italy maybe knows, but the others don't. Give us a little intro to who is Christian, who how's basketball entered your life, how coaching entered your life, how this have been doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how basketball has been started in my life? I think I started playing since I was 7. I was one of these kids, that fell in love with it. So actually, I started very early. I was 20. I was passing through this phase of playing and not being really a great player. So I started to help, other coaches a little bit with kids. And then I was lucky that I started my career in A2, in A2, women's side in Italy, in Naples, in my city. There they needed an assistant. I was starting to study. Here you have some steps to study to become a coach.
Hmm.
So I started that path, and I've been from the first moment coaching. As an assistant, and then afterwards I started to learn about scouting, about learn all the things that I've been knowing since now. When I was 20. I was lucky enough to be with an under 17 girls team that went on the national finals,
Hmm.
which was not it was not the goal, but we got there and everything went, in a good position. And then I got hired the next year with the senior team. So I was assistant coach, video coordinator the very next year. So from there, I started my path always in my, close to my city in Naples, in South Italy, moving from one club to another with youth clubs, youth academies. I stayed 4 years in the same academy in the very historic Collana Basket in Naples. And then from there, actually had a couple of groups that from under 13 to under 18. We started, they never played basketball before, and then under 18, we went to win the regional championship, which
Hmm.
was a great achievement for them. And then from there, I got my first experience. I went abroad in Denmark. I got hired as a head coach of a men's team there. And then I stayed 2 seasons. We moved up from Division 3 to Division 1 in 2 consecutive years. Then I moved to Copenhagen with the biggest club in Denmark, which is Falcon.
Hmm.
And then I think it was 2020, so it was a little bit of COVID time. So I went back to Italy. I got married.
Hmm.
I'm going chronologically, I think. I missed some senior experience in my hometown while I was coaching youth. And then afterwards, I was with an academy in Sardinia for 3 years in Oristano. And then I moved to Malta.
Hmm.
Actually, this last season, I went to Malta as a head coach of the first men team in the first league. Actually, we were vice champions. We won a cup, the League Cup, and then we were finalists in all the other competitions. And this year, I'm with Orlandina Basket, which I believe is one of the most historical clubs in
Hmm.
Italy. They've been
Right.
in first league for several years. They're very passionate here about basketball. Many players and coaches have been passing through here. I can mention Potseko, that is the national team
Hmm.
coach. He has been playing here and then coaching here. So here, everyone is breathing basketball, and they have a long history. So that's a little bit of the path I've been doing through basketball. I started with the women scouting in a lot of years, and then I did on my own as a head coach abroad.
And you were saying that you were with the youth teams, with women's side, men's side. You went to Denmark. You went to the third division, so a lower division. So you get out of it, Italy, one of the one of the most passionate and talented countries in terms of basketball,
Sure.
and you go to Denmark that doesn't have that much of a culture of basketball culture, and you go to the third division. How does that happen in terms of what changed your mind to go, okay, I'm in Italy, a country that it's my home country,
Yeah.
where basketball, where I can become a professional coach in so many places.
Yeah.
What did change for you to decide to go to Denmark, to the third division, where maybe basketball was not their first priority?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was always curious about traveling. I
Mm-hmm.
had, always this desire to travel and to go abroad. I always was a good kid in English at school, so I wanted to experience life a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I was driven about basketball. I was trying to learn as much as possible. The point is like, okay, I wanted to try on my own. I wanted to experiment. So actually, I wanted a chance to be head coach. I've been head coach with the youth, but it's kind of different because you have to develop and everything. And then it was more of a developing a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it was a very great experience because first of all, they treat me like I was home. It was my first job abroad. I got in a totally different country where people are facing
Uh-huh.
different social background. It was amazing. To be honest, I was always open to do that. So when I had the chance, I took it, and I don't regret it. Actually, even if it was a lower league, I was about like I knew that the facilities there were amazing. So I said, okay, let's try to bring this club as high as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they had the same vision as me. Right now, actually, they're still in first division, which is the highest they've been in their history in
Mm-hmm.
Bayern. It's a small town of 10,000 people. And now they're trying to make the big step to go to Basket Liga. So, of course, it's a lot of effort in the economical side and
Mm-hmm.
everything, but we've been also in a great relationship since then. And I still help them sometimes, to consult with them for players or for coaches and stuff like that. So it's been a hell of a ride, and I loved it so far, and I would redo it probably all over again.
Yeah, no, for me that's one the first interesting thing that you said in terms of this type of changing cultures is
Yeah.
that as a coach we always think that you have to stay in the biggest countries to become a professional coach or even to get to the highest level, and in part is true, but at the same time you said something that it was amazing. I love to travel, I want to experiment, and why not putting both things together? Why not travel and being a coach at the same time? So I think that a lot of, I'll say kids, but coaches of my age, younger coaches, have the mentality, okay, I have to become the best ever,
Yeah.
and I think that it can be a successful career if you can travel all over the world coaching while being paid for that to do that. So of course we don't have that much time during the 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 season to travel abroad and all that stuff, but we have some, even a day off you can visit this city or that city or this town. So
Yeah, yeah. It's also apart from the travel side, I think it's opening your mind.
mhm.
Actually, I remember how I was as a coach when I first landed there, and I remember after 3 years how I landed back to Italy,
But
and I'm
let's
like,
yeah let's go that way. Let's go that way in terms of, because Denmark and Italy are complete opposites in terms of culture, even historical culture, even people culture per se. What was the most demanding things you encountered there in terms of culture shifting,
hmm.
and what things did you took to your life as a coach, to your philosophies as a coach in those 3 years you were there?
Yeah, well, I have to go deep into background social life in Denmark because when I've been there, for me it was a little bit, everyone. I got in the team. It was a very how to say, very different cultures, different players. Someone was from Bosnia, Slovakia, Syria, then the foreigner, and then I had so many different perspective. And when I got there, I remember that they were kind of like, "Hey, you're Italian. We know that you have this
Uh-huh.
blood, this passion and everything. Here, people are more chill." And at the beginning, I was like, "Okay, they're exaggerating." And when I understood, I got also lucky because I got hired also as a PE teacher there, as my background of sports science. So I actually got to know how it was in the schools, how they were treated, and it's unbelievable. It's totally a different background. First of all, I mean, they've been investing in the 90s about structures of sports because of course, in Denmark there is less sun, less hours of sun. They had a big problem with alcoholism. Still, they have some problems with that. But they invested. Many companies invested on building good structure, good, building for playing sports in general. And there is this. The biggest cultural shock there, it was like that basketball court were filled up with different lines. There were the lines of basketball court, then there was a badminton, then there was a futsal, and like 5 6 sports, so you could see all these different lines with
Yeah,
different
but
colors and you get crazy.
let me say a thing, because I think here in Italy you are not that used to it, because
Yeah,
Italy is the one of the biggest sports in Italy, and you have gyms just for basketball. But even in Portugal, we have those kinds of gyms. So you go to play to a team, and you have like 6 or 7 types of courts, different courts
yeah,
in the same space. So I think it's
yeah.
more of a culture shock for who comes from from Italy, and also for, because also in Spain they has even the not the greatest teams, but the small teams had those type of gyms.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you felt that
Yeah, no,
shock.
also because I believe in Italy, the courts that are made for basketball, mostly they were made for volleyball. So actually,
Hmm.
we use that we have the volleyball line. Actually, if we do some drill, it's
It
also
helps.
like go to the volleyball line. And but when you see so many lines, you are like that. Then a part of this, of course, it's a silly thing. I've seen that most of the families, uh, they were in a very good position socially and economically. So their kids, they were going to school. The school are for free. Even the university there is for free. The kids, when as they have a big structure for their schools are amazing. You go to this school and there are more classes that are for I don't know, art and science and cooking. They teach you everything. And actually, I was getting to collaborate for a SFO, which is an after school. So I was taking care of the kids and making them do sports between this time of 2 p.m.
Hmm.
to 4 p.m. And in that time, the kids could choose their activity. They had so many different activities. They had a forest outside. I mean, I'm talking about a forest of many meters
Hmm.
where they could play outdoors, they could play indoors, they could make activities, with science or with cooking, whatever. They were learning everything, and they could choose on their own, which is something that here in Italy doesn't work like that. Even if you have some project, you choose that project. Okay,
Hmm.
you choose to go, I don't know, for IT, so you go there and you study that. There, it's a bit different. So you could decide, and actually also quitting,
Hmm.
which is the other face of the medal. They have a lot more of a creativity side because they can express themselves. On the other side, they're very eager to quit if something is not going their way. This is what was happening at the beginning. You put a drill and then there's like, what is basketball? No, we're going somewhere else. And that was the first challenge I faced. Because I've been digging also into the families, how they were growing with their kids.
Hmm.
There's no yelling. There is, like you have to, if a kid is freaking out, you have to make them understand, sit with them, and talk with them and make them express
And
their emotion.
that changed. Sorry, that changed the way that you coach already from the beginning, because if you come to Italy, there's a lot of yelling, because it's the
Yeah.
passion. Is the passion that he's talking, is not to be rude or something. You as a coach that comes from Italy, that comes from this environment, what changed to your coaching style and your approach in terms of a basketball coach?
Okay, you asked me if at the beginning didn't change so much. Actually, I think that's one of the resistance that I believe that everyone has to face when they travel and they go abroad. It's like you're putting your way of coaching of
Hmm.
whatever you're doing, and then you face this resistance. These people are not understanding you, and then you're like, okay, but back in Italy they do stuff like that. So you always compare. Okay, and then there is this fine line at some point where you understand it's like, okay, but I'm not in Italy anymore. I have to adapt too. So when that shift happened, it was happening mostly at the end of the first season when we won the first championship. I was like, okay, I understand that here I have to a little bit not relax, but understand that I can communicate in a different way,
Hmm.
which is something that I learned a lot also in my, what you are calling positive mindset. Is like it's something that I changed my way of coaching because I approach to athletes in a different way. I take them as human beings, and then sometimes when we learn so much about basketball tactics and everything, we kind of forget that part. It's like,
Hmm.
hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, why you didn't make this read, and why didn't you make this, and then it's like. The feedback is not helping. It's just attacking someone that then he feels that he has to defend, and then this is happening in all kind of relationship when you face with other people, culture on or way of seeing life. So this is something that really impacted my life, and first of all, and then my coaching style because I'm like something that I love there, which I was fighting a lot in the beginning, is like they had this culture of okay, let's go out and take a beer. Okay, either we win, either we lose. Like, and then at the beginning I was freaking out. Like we lost. I remember we lost a game on the overtime. Last shot, we missed a free throw that could be another overtime, and then we lost. And I was so upset I couldn't sleep. And then the guys who were there is like, come on, coach, let's go take a beer. And I was like, no way, no fucking way. I was like, what are you talking about? But then with time, I understood also the spirit of that because it's like, okay, we're fighting, we're having a war, let's say, on the court. But what is important, this is a sport. We're here
Hmm.
because we want to stay together. There are many motivation, many players. Of course, if you go a lower level, it happens more often. Like they're not there with the same motivation. They
Hmm.
don't all want to become a basketball
Yeah,
player
they
or a
are there to
pro.
enjoy themselves also, yes.
Many people, even at a high level, I see like they stay there because they want to be part of something. They want to feel
Hmm.
like they belong. And this is like human needs. It's not something about basketball only. And that made me, shift a little bit my perspective. It's like, okay, if I want someone to that they become the best player they can, I have also to take in account why they play
Hmm.
and what they like, and also when something that also changed during the COVID, where we started talking. It was checking out Alex Sarama's stuff because one of the things that he was saying, a part of the methods, it was like, okay, it has to be fun, even if
Hmm.
it's a pro. Like if he's not having fun or he's doing things just repetitive without even thinking, that is not helping his game. It's not helping him also develop as a person. And that's I think that's our goal. Okay. Sometimes we say we are coaches, but we're not only basketball coaches. We're teaching. We're teaching
Hmm.
things that are gonna help them. Either they want to become pro, either they want to become an entrepreneur or
Yeah,
a worker. So
yeah.
that's something that we have always to have in mind.
And after you have this culture shock in Denmark for 3 years, you said you were there for three
Yeah,
years.
2 years in
Um,
Bayern, in this small town, and then I moved to
to
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, and then you challenge yourself again, and you after some years you moved to Malta, where you were last season, and you had a successful year. Malta is not that known. I think is less known for basketball even than Denmark. So, what were the biggest challenge in terms of culture shift? Because Malta is also a small space, a small
Yes.
culture. Everyone knows everyone. Um, what was the biggest difference? And we can talk already a little bit about your brand, the Flexiballer, because it's also getting something different, getting something new, getting something that is not that common. to the basketball world. So not only you had to shift your culture, as you had to shift mentalities to put your brand. So walk us through a little bit from of that.
Okay, well, first of all, this now that you mentioned flexiboler, which is kind of a mix between yoga practice. I've been lucky that I have my wife that she's a yoga teacher, and actually many of the insight I was sharing with her during my basketball
Mm-hmm.
practice were basically about, okay, but have you have you checked, the feelings of this player? Have you checked that he's doing well with his life? Have you checked all this stuff? And then I've seen that yoga is helping me because I tried on myself. And then I was like, okay, if this is helping me, it can help even athletes even way more, not only on the physical side, but also on the mental side. So that's why we tried in Denmark. We had actually a really nice camp with the senior team, which
Mm-hmm.
you don't imagine. No, it's like, okay, it's something for youth. No, actually has been working more with the senior. And then when we tried that type of approach, mixing in practice yoga and basketball, driven on decision making, on CLA and games approach, that was interesting because I've seen people that were always used to some kind of things, then to change their approach. And it was shocking. And when we went to Malta, we had the chance to try it on players. And of course, the cultural shock there is different because you can imagine I've been in Denmark, which even with the weather, you can see that there is like gray all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when there is sun, people are really appreciating that they're going out, they're going making picnics outdoors, even with the 12 degrees, which would be crazy for someone in Italy. Like right now, it's 12, and people treat it like it's winter. So I'm not asking you because in Trento, I believe it's way
No, no,
colder.
I have been lucky because we got some days of cold, but now it's around 12 to 15 degrees. It's okay.
Ah, okay, okay. So we kind of have the same temperature. And so when I moved back to Malta, of course, it's like more sunny days. You can actually get to appreciate that time. You get to appreciate many more things. And there, of course, it's like um, it's a small place, like you
Mm-hmm.
say, it's 20 kilometers. But I would not say that everyone knows everyone. Also because it's in a big expansion economically, and there are many many companies for sports betting, other companies about casino online, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So there are people coming from all over the world for their languages, their language skills, so they come to work with their languages. And that is also the environment in basketball because there are many local foreigners, they call it now. They allow them to be at the same
Mm-hmm.
uh, spot as a Maltese, so actually the level is a little bit higher. With the national team there is a lot of activity, both with youth and with the senior. The point is, like, of course, there are other sports. There is football that is way bigger there, but still I think basketball is growing so much in that aisle. And you have, so to understand the background, it's like you have the Maltese are actually people that it's kind of, you're in between Italy and the Arabian world. So
Mm-hmm.
you have this mixture that's actually very new, but you understand the history. There's a lot of history of Christianity. There is a lot of background, of people that are a little bit more, settled on these old values. And then there is this wave of people coming from all over the world. And then there is a nice mixture because it's the same thing I told you. It's like when you move and you go to a different country, you learn a little bit and then you give a little bit. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like also the aisle is becoming so much fast paced. There's a lot of traffic because you can imagine more people than than the space
Of
itself.
course.
And basketball wise was the same. You approach with different. I had four Serbian players. I had different kind of input. Actually, the whole coaching staff was Italian
Mm-hmm.
because there are many Italian coming from Sicily. So you understand that the background is a very mixed. And talking about flexible was actually very surprising that it worked very well because for example, if you talk with the Baltic players, they're very strict on some things. So when I tried to make them do yoga at the beginning, they were a little bit like, they felt like there is a little bit too much of feminine side, which I told them like, hey, it's nothing about men or women. It's just like for your flexibility, not only physical but also mental.
Hmm.
And then time by time we had a break of 2 weeks where we didn't do it, and they were actually asking for it. So that
Hmm.
was a win for me because it's like, okay, this thing is working. They work a lot on the decision making, which is something that with pro doesn't happen so much. We kind of use that our weeks are more like, we do individuals in the morning, but individuals are very like against zero. And then I believe that individuals should be a lot with defenders, even if it's a fake defender, even if it's just the coach contesting shots or making a different scenario.
Yeah, but
So
let's go there for a little bit because you were talking about before in Denmark you use CLA, you use small sided games approach. Um, what is your way of thinking in terms of now that because you are always working with senior teams
mm,
because with Sarama and all the coaches that I've talked through and with, we talk a lot about play development on youth categories, and we don't talk enough about play development in senior teams.
yeah.
What is your thoughts about that on working with the Saramia way? Let's put it that way, because
Mm,
it has
yeah.
been him that put out all this stuff for the last years. How do you? What are your thoughts on player development on pro teams and senior teams?
Well, I believe also if you talk about senior teams, most of the senior team they have a good part made by young players that are moving from youth to senior. So already that you have 20 years old kids. For example, here in Orlandina, there are
Hmm.
5 players out of 12 that are actually no 7 players if we consider the local one that are less than 20 years old. So you understand that development is key there. And I believe that it's something that is always giving an extra. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I know that shooting for me it's a habit. This happens, for example, with the older players. 30 years old players that have been used to work in a certain way, they build up it. So they want, their space to shoot 1 on 0, to have their shooting spots and everything. But I believe that when you give a little bit, like, okay, let's try this, but I'm coming to contest, or I'm doing, you give little things to not break their habits, because also when you build a habit, it means that you have done that for many years.
Hmm.
So in Malta, I've been trying, I had foreigners, I had for foreigners, I had the Serbians, I have many Maltese players, and they were really open to that. They were really open to read the game. They were not used to read the game, which was actually at the beginning, a lot of turnovers, a lot in
Hmm.
situations that are going like that because they wanted a scripted one. It's more easy, it's more safe for me to learn a scripted thing because I'm like, okay, I know that when this is happening, this I have to do. But then it's never happened the same. Even a similar scenario, even if we have the same side pick and roll ISO with four, we know that depending on the position of the defender or my position on the court is going to be a different scenario every time.
Hmm.
So if he's under the line, under the free throw line, if he's higher, or if the screen is a little bit flat, that change everything. And if you don't put different scenarios, I believe you're taking out a little bit of learning experience to the
Yeah, but
players, even the expert one.
but now I'm thinking because you said that in Capo Orlando you have a lot of younger players. How do you on a pro team or in a senior team, because you always have, even if they are not youth players, they are developing also during those years. How do you balance the result oriented development work with the growth oriented development work? Because you can do with the CLA, you can do with the games approach, but you can do just, I don't know, side pick and roll because they're your stuff this year. How do you manage to get there and also get some things that can grow the player to go to another level? Because if you are on Serie B, you want your players to go to Serie A. If you are in
Yeah,
Serie A, you want your players to go to your leg or
yeah, of
NBA.
course.
So
Know
how do
what you
you
mean.
balance this type of stuff?
Well, first of all, I believe that depends also the position you are. As an assistant coach, of course, I can put inputs more on the individuals in the morning, for
Hmm.
example, or in the daily work we have. Even if we have some space off, the players can come and then we can work with two, three
Hmm.
players together. That's something that is happening, to give a little inputs. Of course, you have to always face the coaching staff is different. If I think like that, the good thing about coaching is you have always a coach that thinks
Hmm.
differently than you, and then it's amazing because you learn that. Actually, I believe I've been learning more from the ones that are not thinking like me, because it's like, okay, I see this perspective. For example, this year I've been learning a lot about defense, and I thought of myself to be a defensive coach, to have that type of style. But hey, I didn't. Like I'm learning a lot, and I know how to balance certain things. Of course, when there is let's say a calendar for we have a lot of games this year. We play until June. Then it's a little bit tough to find space. You can find space mostly in the morning for individual work, and that's where I act the most. For example, in Malta last year, I was as a head coach, I was pushing way more on this type of work during the week than the preparation of the game. The preparation of the game was based more on the last 2 days before the game, but then the rest of the week was working on how to get better on a different type of scenario, and that was my goal because I want my players to develop that. And then I see, for example, my biggest win as a coach is I always follow my teams, my previous teams. I'm still following Melia last year, and I see that they got so much better in moving the ball. Thing that at the beginning of the year they were never doing. And even though we had a great season, we won kind of everything that we could have won that year with a team that was not built for winning everything. I've seen that this what remained with them is the fact that they treat each other like a family, and
Hmm.
that's most important thing. And I've seen that also they got a lot better on decision making. That is what, okay, like, okay, I give something to them that they can bring to their game or to their daily life. This is what I care the most. So to find a balance between young players and senior players, let's call them like that, it's tough because the result comes first, but you know that the development is important not only for your players but also for you as a coach, because it's
Hmm.
what you're giving them. And then you're hiring players the next year, and then that player will want to come with you or with another coach for that. Of course, depends also the economical
Hmm.
side. It depends on so many other things. But I believe that you can find a balance between having a result driven environment and working on development.
Hmm. And we were talking about the flexible, and for me, yoga is also a part of player development. Um, how you guys trying to get in the big markets into the basketball world? How because I really like the concept, because I think I also do yoga. I have friends of mine that are instructors, so I know a little bit of what can do for you and for your body and also for your mind. How can you how are you trying to get into this world that is a methodological world of basketball that are used to do with the things a certain type of way? How are you trying to get into this difficult world
Well,
of basketball?
yeah, actually, we've been facing a little bit of a wall in terms of obviously openness to something like that, because you can imagine that we've been trying to propose this method in different clubs in different countries, and not always people were open to that, because of course it's like, yeah, okay, all right, but what is this yoga doing? And then it's like, okay, let's try to make a camp together, because then I can show you how it's mixed and how we have been trying and retrying. You have to experiment to find the right fit also for the players you have, also to give a little bit of a holistic way to look at the player. We're trying Obviously the camp is the easiest way because you can try and look, yoga is something that is affecting you in a good way in a longer run, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
you can see the result even in a few days because you're passing from being, like unaware of anything, which is kind of what we find in players. Like most of the players we find nowadays, they're connected to their phones most of the time than
Mm-hmm.
with the other people, with their own body, with their own emotions. They don't even know that they're afraid or they're scared or which emotion is going through. And then this is like in 2 3 days of camp you can find out some little things. It's like, okay, I didn't do that because you find a reason why you didn't do, you didn't make not even the right choice, but the choice that was needed in that moment. So on that you can work more on your limits and
Mm-hmm.
then get better. We're setting up some camps for the this summer, like we always do. Of course, like the ideal scenario would be like last year that we had a partnership with the club, and
Mm-hmm.
then we provided this. We inserted this method during the season in the pro team, in the senior team. So that worked very well, and I've seen also the result afterwards. That's what's most important. I've seen that people that were not taking care of their bodies or their lifestyle in general, now being in touch with them, I hear that they're doing so much better, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that I want to give more than giving importance to the brand. I want to give importance to the to the athlete as a human being, as a someone that we have to look at 360 degrees. And it's important that this thing is for them, is for the players, is
Mm-hmm.
for them to understand that they can do, they have potential that they can explore. So that's my goal. If but I had also a saying that my grandma was saying, like, you can help only who wants to be helped.
That's no, that's
you
the
can you
harsh
can
truth.
try to show the way. Of course, you can try to, do first and then show. The point is like, if someone wants to be helped and ask for help, open and available to help.
Of course.
You don't change anyone that doesn't want to change, and
Mm-hmm.
that happened also for me. When I went abroad first time, I didn't want to change. I thought that my way of coaching was the best. I won the first championship, so I thought I was, some kind of Scariola or. But then afterwards, I realized that, like, no, there's a lot to work on. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
also to give, and that's I think the key. What we're trying to do with flexible is to give some tools that sometimes people don't know, that they can use for themselves to get better as a people, as a person, as a even as an athlete, which is the main goal.
Mm-hmm. And coming back to player development, we talk a little bit about your approach to it. Let's say that you run your team, or you in Malta, where you were the first coach and you had all the control in working with the guys. What was your approach to player development there? What was your approach to the CLA type of work, the games approach, aside the small sided games? What were your mentality going to that season in terms of developing the players?
Well, first of all, the most important thing is always to have a mind open to experiment. Okay, even if it's something on your, it's like, okay, I need, to win this season because I have to get a contract for the
Hmm.
next year. That's what everyone is thinking. But the point is like, okay, I want to try. I want to see if this thing is working. I want to see if it's giving anything to them. And I believe to see a 36-old Serbian that we had, he was one of our scorers, that he could thrive and decide differently, have even problems to check some kind of scenarios and to find solution for that, and then retrying and in different scenarios and see that he could find different solutions. He
Hmm.
didn't even know that. So actually, he had the best season of his life because he started not only to score, but he started to pass the ball. He started to play the. He wanted to play defense on the best American of the other team. So I'm like, okay, it's not only the method approach; it's also the mindset. And I believe it's more that. When I was in charge, I was giving my player, first of all, as idea that we are a family, so we trust each other. We try to do our best for each other, And we develop with the ideas like, okay, I give you these tools, I know that might be something new for you that you used to have your habits, but I believe that these things are gonna help you. And I believe that communication is key. Many times I've seen situations where, like, as a coach, we go to a player and say, "Yeah, come on, be ready for this game," and then you sit him out for 40 minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
then you don't give him explanation afterwards. So we guess that he's gonna learn. What is gonna learn? You didn't communicate anything to him. Actually, you were kind of how to say, incoherent, because you're saying something to encourage when you know that he's not gonna play,
Mm-hmm.
without giving an explanation afterwards. So that's something that I try to focus a lot, more than on the method. Of course, we've been trying always situations of over number. I say it, small
Mm-hmm.
side games, and this was our bread every day. Even in the for example, this is something that I use a lot in the warm up, because many players in the warm up, they used to go just up and down, to do their thing, like, okay, but then most of the time they don't even warm themselves. And then instead, with the small sided games, you don't even notice, but you're already warm, so
Mm-hmm.
you're ready to go. And then that's why also, on the CLA, on the constraint-led approach, I try always to find the goals. Okay, we share this goal, guys. We're doing this drill because we want to try to achieve this goal. We want to try to find solutions on the side pickerel box. Okay, and that's something that has to be communicated. I found it very easier when you communicate your intention to your team, and you're kind of, let's say, vulnerable. So many coaches don't do that because they feel like, I'm the coach, I say and you do. And then sometimes when you open up to them, you find first a lot of feedback. What I had from my players is like, coach, do you think that we can do this stuff like that? And it was like interesting. It's like, you know what, we can try that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give this type of power to your players, at the end of the day, they're on the court. You can call the sets, you can call what you want from the bench, but then at the end of the day, they're on the court.
No, and also,
And
also for me, that thing that you were saying about communication and asking questions, for me, that is also player development. Not always,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be always ball in hand. So, like you said, yoga is player development, body development, mind development. Asking questions is mind development. Putting them through situations without even make a shot is player development. So I do think that people mistake player development with putting the ball down and doing 100 dribbles and 100 shots. Sometimes you have to do 100 questions and put him with 100 scenarios to develop his mind to be ready to attack that situation. So it's very interesting for you to say that communication is key, and then that even your players ask you for feedback in terms of what they're doing. For me, like you said, they play the game, and that's very very important. But it gets me through also to your positive way of being, not always as a, not also as a coach, but also as a person, because when we talk outside of basketball, you always have this energy that immense the place and gets to throw the place. And I do believe that also yoga must bring you also with your wife some of that light, because I know people from yoga and their energy is completely different from the other, because they know their intentions, they understand their surroundings. So you always have been this type of person in terms of having a growth mindset, a positive mindset, or your experience have shaped you and have changed you along the way.
totally my experiences. I was not as open-minded as I was, let's say, 7 years ago.
Hmm.
So that's why I told you, like, I would redo it again, to travel and to go abroad and to see different type of people, because that's also, you deal with different people, and sometimes at first you don't understand, then afterwards you're like, okay, I can take that. For example, something I took from Denmark, which is a silly thing, is like, I love to be minimalistic in the house. I love to have everything white, and
Hmm.
a few things, candles to make everything cozy. They call it hygge, to be in this state of coziness at home. And those are things that apply for life in general. So I try. What you said before is the energy. The energy is the key.
Hmm.
I think that energy is contagious. Either it's negative, either it's positive. So to put it like in a NLP type of thing, is more like it's a useful state. Okay, what's useful for me? What is useful for my players? To tell, you always miss from that spot, man. Like, is that gonna help him? So I try to bring my energy, and I try to be positive. I'm not saying I'm positive all the time. I have my bad days too. It's not like I'm a guru or something like that.
Hmm.
But actually, in that moment, you learn the most because, like, even though I'm in this state, I know that I can change this state. And if you can pass this message to the players, it's gonna be a game changer. Because
Hmm.
imagine a tough game, point by point, and then you're all caught up. What if I lose this ball? What if I make this right play? It's like if that shift happens, it's gonna change. It's gonna change a game. It's gonna change a season. It's gonna change also the perspective of an athlete and
And
how he faces, daily life.
and now how do you try to get that type of mentality, get type of mindset, that type of way of living? Because for me, it's not a mindset; it's a way of living, being positive. And I think some people mistake being positive with being good, being well all the time.
Nah,
I
it's
think
not
it's
true.
the way that you encounter, like you said, encounter the setbacks and how do you manage them. So, how do you pass that to your team as a coach to install that growth mindset that okay, we missed, okay, we got this wrong, let's move it forward because getting being in the past doesn't help us. Let's
Yeah.
move it forward. How do you try to install your type of being to your teams?
First of all, I believe that if I believe in something, I have to do the I have to walk the talk. I have to do it first. Like I have to be that guy. I have to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see clearly we're leaders. Okay, as a coach, we're leaders. Uh, you want it or not, you're following your coach as a player. It's like, okay, you see how he is, and you always take something. If you see a coach that is always like this with this mood and everything, also as a player, you will be like, I'm here at practice. And I've seen many players even here sometimes are like tough, in this way, but because they've been not always having this type of coaches, and I understand. It's like, how would you? I'm 10 months with the same team, with the same environment, same coaching staff. Of course, I'm gonna have I'm gonna learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I try to do is always to bring good energy to the team, and then, for example, an important thing is the focus. Where do I focus my attention on? Like if I focus my attention, I was like, hey, don't shoot from there. You're always missing. I focus my attention on something that is doing bad. I try to focus my attention on what is doing great, and then it's not avoiding correction. The correction has been done in a positive way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you did this. For example, this is an NLP technique. You say something that you did great. Okay, if you try better this thing, it's going to be the same result. So you're pairing a good emotion, a good state, something that they did good and they can recognize that they did good, with something that could improve.
Yeah,
Something that you can improve, it's totally a game
they call
changer.
it the sandwich method.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's it.
use that a
So
lot because it's I'm still trying to be a little bit more into that more consistently in terms of when I have my, like you said, when my focus and my energy are going that way, I'm 100% that type of coach. But sometimes when I'm, and that's why we are improving, that's why it's amazing to get this type of mentality and mindset because I can understand that and I feel that when I more tired, the days that I'm the more tired, this type of mentality or this type of thinking is not that easy. So for me to be a positive minded coach when I'm tired is way harder than to be it when I'm feel. So I have to think a lot more. I have to stop myself to do some things or to get some feedbacks right away. Because when I got here to Italy, I'll tell it was easy to do that because I couldn't speak. So
yeah, yeah,
for the time being that I had to think about what I was saying, translate it to Italian in my head, and then actually saying it was like three actions. Now that unfortunately, I'm getting better in Italian. It's way quicker, and I catch those catchphrases that you coaches like to do it here, like those
yeah.
very. So it's
I know the
a
feeling.
little bit more, yeah, a little bit more difficult now. But I understand what you're saying. But as a coach sometimes, and of course you guys are winning this year, so when you are winning it's easier, but I do feel that sometimes even coaches when are losing, this type of connection and feedback are difficult to do.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, even in winning situations, it's not always easy. The world, when I told you, like if you have a different approach, uh, of course you have to face with different
Hmm.
thing. So if I know that some people in the team are more negative, but not because they want to be negative or they don't want to win, it's just their way to approach life. Okay, you know that you have to bring more energy, you have to balance. Okay, so that's why sometimes I have to be the extra positive. Sometimes they're looking at me like, man, you really always that happy? I'm like, no, but I know that you need that, because if you I'm gonna be like you, I'm gonna be negative in that way, things are not going better, or at least you cannot try something different. You cannot have a different expression of what you're trying to bring to the table.
Hmm.
So I believe that it's our responsibility. It's our job. Okay, let's say that I put in my mind is like I get paid for that. I get paid for doing the job I love. I want to do it my best. And if I don't know what is my best, I go and study and I check what could be working. Okay, let's say I'm trying something and this something is not working. Am I doing the same thing all over again, knowing that it's not working, or am I trying something different?
Hmm.
Like, what is the loss if I try something and it's not working? I try another one. That's also what we do when we are on the court, when we are in a game. For example, if you make a game plan that you want to play only top pick and roll, and you know the top pick and roll they're guarding well with the switch and they deny your advantage, what you have to do? Like you try something different.
Hmm.
Exactly the same thing.
But
So
for you, what's the best strategy to understand and to have this positive mindset when your job is on the line about results? So if you win, you get the job. If you lose, you don't get the job. How do you instill in also in your players and also in your coaching staff this type of guys? Our mindset has to be a positive and growth setted. So even if we lose, we have to go oriented to that type of deal that we made in the beginning of the season.
yeah, it's a kind of a difference between the goal, which is to win, and the purpose. Like,
Hmm.
what are we doing this for? Why are we doing this here? Why are we here? Why am I coaching? Why are you playing?
Hmm.
Like, okay, we're here because we want to grow as people. We want to be the best we can, independently from basketball. Like, I want to be the best version of myself that more than yesterday. Okay, the competition sometimes it happens a lot. The competition between players of the same spot, for
Hmm.
the minutes and everything. Then at some point, I feel that it's a little bit toxic if you think about it. Yeah, it's something normal in basketball. I mean, everywhere is like this. But the point should be, okay, I'm competitive because I want to be better than Christian yesterday. That's my goal. Every day I have to thrive into that mentality. So even if my job is on the line, okay, but I'm doing my job because I believe in those values. I believe that we have to grow, like we
Hmm.
have to get better. And then when you go on the court, you know that two results can happen. Like we don't even have the draw like in football. You know that either you win or either you lose. It's part of the game, and that's something I learned in Denmark, as you can see, without taking a beer. But like I understood the concept, I understood the
Hmm.
message. Like okay, this is sport at the end of the day, and we treat it like that.
Yeah, I
Like
have. I heard a rule from the Americans are great in a lot of stuff, but creating a culture and a rule setting environment, they are for me the best in the world. And I heard the coach saying that either a loss and a win for him lasts 24 hours. So he gives himself 24 hours to either enjoy the win or digest the loss. So
yeah,
and in a certain ways, like you said, the Danish people do that as a cultural thing. Okay, we lost, but we are here together as a family, as a team. Now we go together as a team also outside. I think you have this in Italy also, but in the lower level leagues where they are there to play and to enjoy themselves.
yeah,
Because I think when you get to pro, you are not able to control everyone's mind and everybody way of thinking and digesting the loss and the win. So you can pick them. So let's go do this or that, but you can set this type of rules. So okay, guys, what do you do? What do you do when you lose? When you lose, you like to get yourself away from everything. So you have 24 hours to do that. You, what do you do when you lose? I like to go get a beer with friends. So you get 24 hours to do that. So instead of trying to force them into an environment, we adapt to everyone's environment by setting the rules. So it's a little bit like you were saying now.
Yeah, yeah, true. Actually, yeah, but also look the challenging thing. There is no hard thing, only challenge. This is also
Hmm.
shift. You know, even in my language, I have to be aware that when I communicate, I have to communicate in a positive way if I want to be sending this energy. What is challenging is that everyone is different, but it's also the beautiful thing. Everyone is different. So if someone is dealing in one way and another is dealing another way, it's cool. Actually, I can learn. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, what do you do when you do that? Like without telling you what to do, you know what to do best because you live your own body. You know what's inside of you. I don't, because I have my own experience. I have my own perspective. You have another one, and that's great because I can learn from that. And you
Hmm.
can learn from mine. And when you have this type of openness, it's like you focus on this. You know, you focus on this openness, and then openness is gonna come to you. I believe a lot in that in life in general. What you switch your focus on is what you attract.
Hmm.
Or, I mean, it's your reality. Because in that moment, you're focusing on that thought, on that experience, and that is your reality.
Yeah,
So,
I think that your focus, your the reality that you create for yourself, also visualization. So being aware of your why and where you want to go, I think that helps a lot to create this energy bubble around you that then people get knows you for. So
yeah,
let's
true.
say.
Actually, now you talk about visualization, no? It's something that we use with Flexibuller. We have been
Hmm.
doing some kind of exercise with in Denmark with this camp of senior. And I remember that my wife came to me in a drill where they had to, face different scenarios and they didn't know how to do it. And then they were getting frustrated.
Hmm.
So they sit and they meditate. They made it for 5 minutes and thinking and visualizing about the exercise that we were doing and how would they do it in their mind. And this is something that is proven scientifically. Huh? There are people that there was a group about some going to the gym, some not doing anything, and some that are visualizing that they were going to the gym. And actually, the better result in terms of getting better was in the middle group, the one that were visually doing visualization. And that's crazy. It's like
Hmm.
the power of your mind is unlimited. So that's why that's good that you told that. It's like something that even you can instill in little moments, even after practice, even before practice. I was helping one of our players here that he was struggling with the free throws, and then I helped him through visualization. I told him, okay, now close your eyes and think about when you made an important shot. Okay, focus your attention on that. How was the feeling? So you're connecting the thought to a feeling. And then when you have this connection and then you focus on that connection, it's like it's different. Even if you miss, you don't go directly to like, no, to that time I missed. No, I'm
Hmm.
going to that time I make. It's like, okay, this time I missed, but hey, I'm going there with my mind. So next time I'm gonna go better. And then you have to believe it. Of course, the main thing that is the toughest part to pass the message is you have to believe in it in what you're
Hmm.
doing. That is a little bit tricky because, for example, it's a new method, let's call it. Actually, it's very old, but nobody's using it for basketball. So some resistance at the beginning, you can have it. But if
No,
you
it's
see that that
normal.
is working for you, okay, it's about what is useful. Again,
Hmm.
it's not about being positive. What is useful? What
Yeah.
is a useful thing for me to reach that goal?
And before we end, because to not take gets long, and you have work to do also, because being a pro
Yeah,
coach
practice intelligence.
means that being a professional coach means that you have no Saturday and Sunday. You have Mondays and Thursdays.
We've been trying to set this up for a week.
Yeah. I think that everyone that is listening to this can check out Flexible Hour also to understand not only as a player but also as a coach, to try to implement yoga and mindfulness and visualization in their job, because I do think that can really help you with regulating your emotions, regulating your thoughts, and having an open mind and energy different. So, coach, before we wrap up and you give your practices, we have this last thing that we call corner three. So the idea is I ask you questions and you give me the first answer that comes to your mind, and then if you want to go deeper into it, we can go deeper into it. Okay. So the
Go.
first question: if you can have a dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Uh, I would say Scariolo. First
Hmm.
that comes to my mind is one of my mentor. Then I would say Richard Bandler, which is the who invented the NLP, the neuro linguistic program.
Hmm.
Third person, Pozzecco, but I want to hang out with him.
That's a nice choice. That's a nice choice. And
Well, I mean, okay, I chose one for my basketball journey, the other one for lifestyle, and the other one is like, okay, I want to have fun too.
for life, the other one for lifestyle, one for life. And if you could give an advice to Christian when he was starting coaching from
Hmm.
you today, what would it be?
Okay, they've been giving me some suggestions. It's like, are you sure you want to do this in your life? It's like it's gonna be a lot of shit. It's gonna be a lot of
Hmm.
things that like. I would give the opposite message. It's like, if you love that, go for it.
Hmm. And
Like,
last one, do you have any movie or book or even music that really get you through something or change your life in terms of coaching?
hi, hey, well, movies, like we are all basketball related. Coach Carter,
Uh-huh.
White Man Can Jump, a little bit of history. I was also always been a Lakers fan. I've
Hmm.
been going to watch last Kobe's games. So everything that is related to hip hop culture and movies of Hollywood, I'm a little bit in love with that.
Okay, coach. Before we get out, do you have any message you wanna get out to the world, to the people that are listening to us? To because we can say this: you have a different approach to basketball than most coaches in terms of getting out of your country. That is the biggest, one of the biggest country in the world about basketball. Even on your approach to yoga, so use this platform to give the message to the world, or what you think you could help others doing.
Well, I believe my message would be to explore and experiment. Like that's two things that you should do in life because you have this life. You don't know what you have after,
Hmm.
so it's better that you take advantage of it. Explore, experiment. Like
Great,
be
amazing.
open.
Amazing. I'm going to take this out and doing a reel. I have already everything set. No, but to you that are in the other side listening, if you're a coach, a player, a father, a referee, get through us with messages. You can get through flexible or also on the social networks. And I hope this conversation helped you because we had a lot of good stuff here, Coach. Again, thank you a lot for this moment. Have a great practice. I hope, and I'll be following you guys. I hope you guys get up to the AEDUE because it's an amazing team that you are working with and an historical one. So all the best for you guys, and we see you next time.
Thank you so much, Vasco. Thank you, and good luck to you too.